LeBron and Luka dispatched in 5 games in the first round by Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's already over before it began. LeBron had 22. Luka had 28. It took over 10 minutes into the game for either one of them to register a field goal. So when you're down 3-1, you obviously have your backs against the wall. LeBron and Luka can't even get one in the bucket for nearly the entirety of the first quarter. Let's take a look at the LeBron James era. Let's really think about what he's done since he got to the Lakers. 2019, missed the playoffs. 2020, won the NBA championship in the COVID bubble. And yeah, you know what? I'm putting an asterisk on it. I don't think that season was a normal season. And I know that the ring counts and it's a championship, but it was a weird year and I discount it somewhat. Maybe that's not fair, but I do. In every sport, not just in the NBA. 2021 eliminated in the first round. 2022 missed the playoffs. 2023 made it to the Western Conference Finals where they got swept. And then last year and this year, first round exits. We're talking about a guy who has won 2 playoff series in the last 5 years at this point. Can we stop the LeBron, Michael Jordan debate now? It's gone on way too long as it is. This is not a conversation, folks. Michael Jordan went 25-1 in his last 26 NBA playoff series. 25-1. That's not in games. That is in series. I want you to look at this tweet. LeBron's 2-4 in playoff series over the past 5 years, and he missed the playoffs once. There is simply no comparison here. And I don't want to hear about Scottie Pippen and how that was somehow the reason that Jordan has performed better than LeBron. Because LeBron went to Miami where he had Bosh, he had Wade, he had Ray Allen. He had 3 Hall of Famers playing with him. Ray Allen was basically a fucking afterthought. He wasn't even a part of the South Beach party where it's, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 9, not 11. We're going to win every fucking championship. Remember that? Ray Allen was an afterthought to that, and the guy is a fucking Hall of Famer. You know how many Hall of Famers of consequence Jordan had play with him in his career? I want you to understand this. Michael Jordan played with 6 Hall of Famers, and we'll get 3 of them out of the way real quick. Robert Parrish. You remember when Robert Parrish was on the Bulls for 5 minutes? Okay, he was a stiff at that point. The Chief is a great player. It wasn't happening at that point. He was playing a few minutes off the bench. So you weren't getting Hall of Fame Robert Parrish. George Gervin, the Iceman. Again, very end of his career, beginning of Jordan's career. The Bulls roster was shit. Gervin was at the end. That wasn't going to help him win a championship. And Artis Gilmore, one of my favorite players, and God love him. He's been a guest on this show, a great man. He was called Rigger Artis by that point in his career. I think that was Peter Vesey who called him that. So you want to know who Jordan really played with? Scottie Pippen and Tony Kukoc. Kukoc is in the Hall of Fame now, but Kukoc, do you really think of Kukoc as an inner circle Hall of Famer? He was a great role player on those teams. He wasn't an elite Hall of Famer. But listen to these names that LeBron has played with. Shaquille O'Neal. Okay, Shaquille was a stiff at that point. Ray Allen, Wade, Bosh, Ben Wallace, Carmelo Anthony, and then the ones that figure to be in the Hall of Fame one day. Kyrie Irving, AD, Russell Westbrook, Dwight Howard, Chris Paul for a few minutes, Derrick Rose, Kevin Love. Maybe
Luka.
Not all of them will get there. Luka now at this point. So the talent that LeBron has had around him, I would argue overall for the entire span of their careers has been superior. I know that LeBron was propping up some relatively mediocre Cleveland teams for a lot of years when he was losing in the finals a lot, but he lost in the finals with Wade, Bosh, Allen twice. He can't get anything done right now with Luka. So can we stop? You can take 40-year-old Michael Jordan, I promise you. You take the Michael Jordan from the fucking Washington Wizards and you give him prime Luka, and he would have gone out and found a way to win in the first round of the fucking playoffs. That you can take to the bank. I believe that. Let me now welcome to this program the man who hosts Don't At Me on the OutKick platform every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. He is, of course, the pride of the Hoosier State of Indiana. Dan Dakich joins the program. Dan, what do you make of it? LeBron and Luka, all the talk, all the hype, at least temporarily alleviating some of the NBA's ratings problems a little bit, and then 5 games in the playoffs and they're fucking gone.
I think Luka is a mess. I've said this forever. He put so much pressure, Ricky, on his own teammates because of his lack of hustle. If you watch the game yesterday, J.J. Redick, who, he's getting the blame for it, and that's cool. But J.J. Redick had to adapt their entire defensive philosophy that every time Doncic was in some kind of ball screen action, they had a double team, and everybody had to adjust to Doncic. Usually that happens, but usually with great players, they have to adjust, like you were talking about Jordan, to how hard he works, to how demanding he is, to how much he improves. With Doncic, they had to adjust to how lazy he is, how disinterested he is. And I got to tell you, it's kind of sickening to watch. And if I'm Nico Harrison, brother, I'm the happiest man because he's getting a little bit vindicated for this trade. As to the whole ratings thing, hey, man, look, good for them. Couple weeks should be. It's finally fun to watch NBA games where teams don't do that little bullshit jersey exchange after and pose for the camera. We got some edge to this. Indianapolis, we got an idiot dad, Halliburton's dad. We got fights last night. Jackson Davis is pushing people. We got Anthony Edwards talking. I'm kind of digging it. But Luka Doncic, I got 2 words for him. My ass.
Real? That is a hard take on the 5-time in a row first team all NBA guy. Took the Mavericks to the finals. But you don't think it's going to work. If LeBron sticks around, and I got to believe that LeBron is going to stick around at least for another year, what are they going to do to change this calculus, Dan? What do they need? What pieces do they need to make this work?
Well, they need a rim protector, and I understood why they decided to go out. And I really do. I understood why they decided to go out and try to get Miles Turner. Miles Turner would be a great fit, when they lost Anthony Davis. They need a rim protector because they don't have that. They can't play Luka Doncic. It might work, but it ain't going to work with this particular group. Look, great centers, for whatever the reason, and I mean this, for whatever the reason, and I don't know the reason, but whether it's going back to Wilt, to Abdul-Jabbar, to Shaq, to Paul Gasol, have always found their way into L.A. There are a lot of conspiracy theorists about that. But if they don't get a rim protector, they got no shot, and LeBron ain't getting younger. Luka's got to do what great players do. Luka's got to do what Michael Jordan, even LeBron James, Scottie Pippen as a second guy, Magic Johnson. I can go through. Isaiah Thomas told me this a long time ago. You got to figure out what you're not good at, and you got to bust your ass to improve it to be an all-time great. Doncic's going to be in the Hall of Fame. You read his resume. It's impressive. But you ain't winning. People have figured him out. And I think the NBA is starting to say, hold on here a second. Yeah, he averages a ton of points. The production's great. But he got exposed by a better all-around player in Anthony Davis. So whether it works or not, it ain't going to work with this group. It's going to have to get a center in there, and it's going to have to do it pretty damn quick.
Well, I'm gratified to hear you use the term rim protector because that is something that I'm not even sure a lot of teams are even aware is a thing anymore in the modern NBA, Dan. I want you to take a look at Wemby here, along with David Robinson and Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
This photo speaks for itself. It's one of those worth 1,000 words deals, and that's Stefan Castle, the 2025 NBA Rookie of the Year there as well. Now, David Robinson was listed as 7'1", Tim Duncan listed as 6'11" in their playing days. Wemby is 7'3". Duncan looks like his Duncan looks like his stoner uncle, who's about my height, standing next to him. Dan, and now here's what I'm getting at about rim protector. I looked this up. Wemby this past year, Dan, he averaged 9 3-point attempts a game, and he hit 35% of them. 7'3" guy, obviously supremely talented. Duncan averaged 9 3-point attempts a year, and I can imagine a couple of those were heaves at the end of the half or the end of the quarter. David Robinson averaged 7 3-point attempts a year. What are we doing when we've got a league where a guy who is that fucking massive is taking 9 3-pointers a game? Is that good for basketball?
Well, I don't know whether it's good or not, but I do know that's the way the game is played. Drives me nuts here in Indy. Miles Turner, and I'm being literal here, Ricky, every time he goes on the block, every time, and it was only 2 times the other night in the playoff game, great playoff game, win the series, all that against Giannis. Every time he goes on the block, he scores so easy. It's ridiculous. And it drives me nuts, and I have battled with fans and broadcasters here in my city. I'm like, look, I get the modern game wants him spacing the court and all that kind of stuff, but Miles Turner has cost himself a Hall of Fame career because he can shoot. He makes, once in a while, he'll take a bunch. But when he goes on the block, it is over offensively. Now, it is over. I go back to a Boston series 2 years ago where the Pacers got swept. Kyrie was killing them. Every time Turner went on the block, he scored and scored easily. It'd be the same thing with Wemby. Yeah, I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's here to stay. It's just like when you watch a baseball game, the announcer tells you 15 different analytics. Look, if Wemby figures it out, and rim protection to me is on the defensive end, and Turner is great because he's in position before the drive happens. He's always in the right position. I can do a whole show on that. But Wemby, what is he? Is he, okay, is he going to be a three-point shooter? Well, he ain't going to be the best three-point shooter in NBA history ever. Is he going to be a post first, mid-post first, and add shooting to his game? If that's going to happen, and then his skill set, then he's got a chance to be as good as anybody, but he's not. Modern basketball dictates we get a big guy, and I don't understand it. Like, I played golf with David Robinson one time. David Robinson is massive. David Robinson is huge. He looks little in the picture that you showed. So it was the same thing with Ralph Sampson. What do you want to be? Like, do you want to be a novelty act? Wow, look how big he is. Look how he can shoot once in a while, make 33 or whatever %. Or do you want to be one of the greatest players of all time as your size and skill dictate? I don't think anybody in the NBA ever wants to challenge guys. Like I said at one time to the general manager of the Pacers, and I don't think anybody wants to challenge guys to do that. And I don't think players are smart enough, particularly big players, to understand there's a Hall of Fame career, there is unbelievable money, which you're already getting, and there's fame coming by being on the block occasionally, if not most of the time. But it's never going to happen, Ricky. I'm thoroughly convinced it ain't never happening.
Well, Dan, speaking of people who aren't smart enough to understand things, Tim Walz is back in the news, and I've got to get your take on this, Dan. Tim Walz, doing a little postscript on the failed campaign and talking about how he was brought in because he was the guy who could code switch and talk to dudes who like football. Let's take a listen, and we'll get your thoughts.
I'm a team player. I'm with it. And there's folks that I recognize are smarter than me. They analyze this. You put your input in. Running a campaign that had never been run before, 100 days, in the situation we were at, running against a very unusual opponent on the other side. Mm-hmm. And look, my job was to do it. Look, I knew I was on the ticket. I would argue because we did a lot of amazing progressive things in Minnesota that improved people's lives. But I also was on the ticket, quite honestly, because I could code talk to white guys watching football, fixing their truck, doing that I could put them at ease. I was the permission structure to say, look, you can do this and vote for this. And you look across those swing states, with the exception of Minnesota, we didn't get enough of those votes.
All right, Dan. So he was the guy. I don't doubt for a second that's what his assignment was, Seems like he failed it pretty spectacularly, though.
Yeah, I don't doubt that somebody made the ridiculous decision to think that guy appeals to, like, you, me, like adult males with the great American penis. I don't doubt that somebody was stupid enough to think that. But once you watch his effeminate walk, once you watch his effeminate ways and the whole fraudulent thing about I run the pick six and everything else, you knew this was bullshit, complete and total bullshit. And I think Levitt said on the podium yesterday, the best thing that Kamala Harris can do is keep talking, keep doing speaking engagements. And I'd say the same thing about Tim Walz. I mean, my God. You're right. There's no doubt that's why he was on the ticket, and there's no doubt the person running the ticket was a dumbass, whether it's Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, or whoever the hell is in between. All stupid. We dodged a major bullet, and I hope he runs again because it will be an absolute landslide.
Well said, as always, sir. He is the host of the Great American Penis. He's the host of Don't At Me on OutKick. You may have just given me a rebranding for my show here, Dan. Fucking
That's
genius is what it is. All right, he's off now to enjoy some outdoor sex and all the good things that real heterosexual football-loving American men appreciate.
Hey, Ricky.
By God.
Ricky, can I give you a saying?
Yeah, by God, please.
Hip, hip, hooray, 1st of May. Outside starts today. See you, brother.
He is the great Dan Dakich. Never a disappointment to have him on the program, and never a disappointment to welcome in the international streaming star who joins me from Nashville, Tennessee. He is, of course, Ronnie T-shirts. Ronnie, Tim Walz. Yeah, first of all, Dakich is just throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs lately every time he comes on.
Like I try to be respectful of this and whatever, but Great American Penis.
We're not at church, Ron. You don't have to be respectful. We're two guys who are doing a show.
I know, but I didn't want to interrupt. But all of a sudden, I'm sitting here watching and just trying to think of, okay, where's this going? What do I think Ricky's going to want to talk to me about? And the next thing I hear is Great American Penis. I'm like, whoa.
Listen, I have never heard that phrase before in my entire life. Dan may have invented it right now on the program. But look, let's talk about Tim Walz, who wishes that he had a great American penis while he's waving at everybody with both hands at the same time. This idea that, and listen, he said the quiet part out loud. We all know he was put on the ticket because the Democrats thought that he could be some sort of relatable archetype of masculinity. You know, the Minnesota guy who loves to hunt and was an assistant football coach, but also loves women and loves the stupid things that the party was pushing, and that somehow guys like you and me and Dakich might be persuaded by that. I have no doubt that was the strategy, but he wasn't up to it because he thought that he could code switch, and he couldn't, because guys can smell phony when it comes to sports. When it comes to sports, you know when somebody is trying to bullshit you and pretend that they understand sports. It would be like me walking into, some fucking leftist white Democratic female, meeting and trying to act like I could relate to their pet issues. There's no way I would be able to pull it off believably, and he just wasn't believable.
Yeah, man. I can't tell you how many times I've been in situations where you're having a sports conversation and then somebody tries to interject their thoughts to it, and everybody just kind of looks and is like, whoa, what did you just say? You clearly
AOC
know nothing about sports.
Six like nobody else.
By the way, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to know everything about sports. It's just,
but just don't come out and present yourself to America
Correct.
that you're not the person that you are.
Right, but
that's the thing. Vince Lombardi in his entire fucking life never waved at people like this. Okay? I assure you, that never happened once. Not one fucking time.
But what an absolute terrible strategy, Ricky, because think about this. Like this is who they identified to be that guy. Well, they already had all the votes of all the beta men, right? Like they did not have to worry about it. Beta men were absolutely voting for Harris, right? So their strategy was to try to get me, Dakich, you, right? Those people to go, oh, you know what? Maybe
they just needed to peel off a portion.
Right.
If they could have peeled off 10% of guys like us,
right?
It might have flipped the election.
But to do that, so I always talk about this is like the people that I'm friends with, like really good friends with. I'm friendly with a lot of people, right? But who are my friends? They're just dudes, right? They're just dudes. And I don't even need to give the definition of what is a dude. Dudes know what dudes are, right? You're just a dude. And that's what would appeal to me. Tim Walz is the antithesis of a dude. He's not even close to a dude. So
dudes like Dan Dakich? Are they dudes like Dan Dakich?
That's what I bet. Oh, dear. Oh,
look at you made a quote card.
Hang on. Look at this. Hip, hip, hooray. It's the 1st of May. Outdoor sex begins today. Was that the direct quote, Tim?
Yes.
I think Tim just captured the spirit.
No, he said that on the way out. Okay. I don't think you heard him. That was his goodbye quote.
Yeah, he said it.
I did not hear the. Wow. Oh, yeah, well, there you go.
He said it and then dropped the mic, Ricky. Yeah, he said it and then he dropped the mic.
My God, he had 2 mic drops today. He had to pick up the mic from Great American Penis in order to drop it again. But, but listen, Ronnie, I think Tim Walz is the kind of guy that carries certs. Is what I'm saying.
But wait, in his purse.
When I was a kid,
it's in his purse.
Yeah, it is man purse. I believe every purse made between 1970 and 1985 came with a roll of certs, because I don't know any adult woman from that era who couldn't produce one within 10 seconds on demand.
And there was
any woman in America. I'm just telling you, every
ones that were
every
open,
aunt, grandma, mom,
but Ricky,
stepmom.
The ones that had already been opened, they all had that kind of purslint around it, and like they hand it to you. You're like, no, purslint. I don't want purslint on my cert.
Purslint,
Ricky, true story.
You don't want the first one. That's why the first one. You got to go to the second cert down, because the first one's full of Kleenex tissues and various other products.
True story. I searched Super 70 Sports tampon. I'm not making this up, and this is what popped up.
Are you serious?
Trying to find something for Tampon Tim.
You found it while searching Tampon Tim. Well,
I'm serious.
There you go. I guess there's truth in that.
AI definitely connected the dots for you there.
Oh, maybe because they look like tampons? Same shape?
Or maybe, you're carrying... Listen, every woman I knew who was carrying certs was either postmenopausal or she had some giant Kotex pads in there. There weren't any tampons being used. Had a pad on there that looked like that fucking neck roll that Steve Grogan used to wear.
Oh my God. This show just took a left turn.
Putting that right there in her panties,
Oh God.
You have a heavy flow, you're going to need the Grogan. Is all I'm saying. A tampon wasn't going to get it done for any woman that I knew in South Central Kentucky in 1983. Believe me, they were all Kotex loyalists.
That's the next AI-generated image.
Oh,
do we change the subject, or you want me to lead into
just
menstruation
no transition?
further?
Just change it. Just change
Gentlemen,
the subject. No transition.
All right. Well, let's change the subject slightly. We'll stay in presidential politics. And we will talk again about our friend Stephen A. Smith, who sadly is not going to have his aspirations dampened at all by being encouraged by, let's take a look, and you can see who encouraged his presidential aspirations.
President, as you know. Do you have any advice for Stephen A? If he launches the run?
No, Stephen A. He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. I love watching him. He's got great entertainment skills, which is very important. People watch him. A lot of these Democrats I watch, I say they have no chance. I've been pretty good at picking people and picking candidates, and I will tell you, I'd love to see him run.
All right, there you go. Stephen.
Stephen A. absolutely popped a boner there. There is no doubt. He doesn't need any Shannon Sharp hymns when he hears that from the President of the United States. Listen, I'll tell you what, Ron, this is starting to feel a little bit like Trump, because it was all a big joke.
Yep.
It was all a laugh. It was all a punchline until you saw him up there on the debate stage. And let me tell you something. Look at who the Democrats have. Look at what the options are. Consider what a cast of characters it is over there, and tell me that Stephen A. Smith would be any more of a joke than watching Tim Walz debate J.D. Vance or whatever. Look, Stephen A., we can kid about it, but I mean, you set Stephen A. down with AOC, and Stephen A. looks like Abraham fucking Lincoln.
Yep.
So I don't think that it is ridiculous at all. I mean, it's ridiculous on one hand, but in the world we live in today, where
not
the
anymore.
preposterous is normal,
Not anymore. Yeah, not anymore.
I could absolutely see Stephen A. at least being in the race. One of the initial 10 or 15 that
Ricky,
declare in 2028.
Well, think about this, right? We just talked about dudes. I mean, you can say whatever you want about Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is a dude, and there's going to be a contingent of people that vote right. They're going to look at Stephen A. and go like, oh, I could absolutely vote for this guy, right? Like, because he is a dude. He seems like he's got common sense. So even though he identifies as a Democrat, I don't think he's a far left.
He's a centrist by Democrat standards.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a centrist.
So I don't think it's crazy that I would consider voting for him.
Well, we might not have to wait for a parallel world for Stephen A. to run for president. He may run for president in this one, but I believe that there's a parallel universe where Greg Maddux kept his mustache and things went exceedingly well for him.
Doesn't even look like him, does it?
He won 600 games in that universe, and he is now also the president. You thought he had a good career. 350 plus wins. If he kept that mustache was worth at least another 250 wins, Ronnie.
Dude,
look at that skeezy thing.
I would not even know that was Maddux if you wouldn't have.
He looks like he's playing the trumpet in a mariachi band in Guadalajara. Look at that mustache. That's the Dirty Maddux. Is what we're going to call that one.
Oh, gosh.
By God. Let's empty the political bag today, Ron. We don't do a ton of politics on this program lately, but we've got some today. Phil Mickelson is chiming in on the political climate in this country, and let's take a look at what Philly Mick has tweeted, the 6-time major champion, retweeting Chuck Schumer announcing that the SAVE Act, which would require proof of citizenship to register to vote nationwide, is done. It's not going to make it to Trump's desk. They've killed it in the Senate. It needs 60 votes, and there aren't enough Democrats to get it to 60, which is not surprising. And Phil Mickelson responding, how is this fighting for America? How is letting non-citizens vote in American elections a good thing? It is not. He is not representing America, its citizens, nor their best interest. He's a traitor. Those are the words of 3-time Masters champion Phil Mickelson, right?
I mean, it's preposterous. This is preposterous. The Democrats are they literally don't care. They only care about just doing what Trump doesn't want. That's all they care about. If it's good for America, it doesn't matter. Their priority is it against what Trump wants? That's it. And
Ron,
it's
we
ridiculous.
Are past the point of reason on this issue. I believe on 75+% of issues, there is room for sincere people to just disagree. And I might disagree very strongly with what the Democrats think on certain issues, but most issues fall into the category, and I disagree with the Republicans strongly on some issues as well, okay? But lately it's been the Democrats for me. I agreed with them on most things for most of my life. But there are certain issues that are such common sense
beyond
that it
common
is hard
sense
for me to understand how we can be split anywhere near 50-50 to where elected, now I'm sure that there are some Democrats, I don't know what the latest polling is among rank and file people who identify as Democrats on how they feel about voter ID. But I would imagine that it's significantly more popular with their voters than it is with their elected representatives, because it goes nowhere with the Democrats in either the House or the Senate. And it's the most cynical fucking thing ever, Ron, because if you remove political affiliation from it altogether and you just look at the issue for what it is, and this is how we should think about every issue, by the way, in my opinion, but we're so tribal on both sides that how we feel about the issue has to be filtered through our political affiliation and identification. Set aside whether you're a Republican or whether you're a Democrat for a moment and just look at the fucking issue at hand. Is it too much to ask in a world where you have to produce an ID to do goddamn near anything that you should have to be able to produce an ID to say you are who you claim to be when you go to vote? Who in the world rationally would be against that? If anybody is against that, the first thing you got to do is you got to question their intentions. And why would you be against something that makes so much sense on every fucking level? Because there has to be an ulterior motive somewhere, because wanting to know that actual American citizens are the only people who get to vote should be something that every American, and I mean every American, 100% of us, should be behind this. Republican, Democrat, I don't care if you're the last fucking Whig running around wearing a James K. Polk shirt. You should be in favor of only American citizens getting to vote. And guess what? I'm sorry, not buying your narrative that there are people out there who are too poor or too stupid or too much of a minority status, because I see what you're doing, Democrats. I see what you're doing. You imply that there are people out there because of their race who might not be industrious enough to get an ID. And you know what I think that is? I think that's racism. Because I think everybody in 2025 with minimal difficulty can procure some type of government-issued identification. Anybody that wants to fly on a fucking airplane, anybody who wants to do shit is going to need identification. All right? So I'm not buying it for one fucking second, Ryan.
Ricky, there's nothing else I can add. It's preposterous. It's done for no other reason than it's just against what Trump wants. They think they're pandering to.
It pisses me off, quite honestly.
No,
it pisses me off. And what kind of NPCs are the folks on the Democratic side who don't see through this, who think that this is somehow right? Yeah, you shouldn't have to have an ID. They want illegal. Chuck Schumer, he would love nothing more than to give illegals a path to voting.
Yeah,
it all goes back to the same reason, the same motivation that they let the border just open like a sieve during the entire Biden administration, claim that there was nothing they could do. And whatever you think about Donald Trump, whatever you think of tariffs, whatever you think of the way that he carries himself, whatever you think of the association that he has with Elon Musk, etc., etc. One thing that we should all be able to get behind is that we cannot be a sovereign nation if we don't check and control our borders. And Trump got that shit under control like that. Everything Biden said, we can't do it, we can't do it. No, the reason you couldn't do it is you didn't have a willingness or an interest in doing it. So one thing that Trump has done right, whatever any of us may think about other things, is he got the fucking order restored at our southern border. And that's something that every American should be happy about, not just Trump supporters.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Maybe it's been too long since we talked politics, Ron. I'm getting all
yesterday. Yesterday
I might need a cert.
Yesterday I told Trey. I said my favorite Trey Wallace is fired up. Trey Wallace, dude. I like this Ricky Cobb.
It's just I don't like anybody who insults my intelligence.
Yeah.
Whoever it is. And when Chuck Schumer stands up there and gives whatever bloviating excuse he wants to give for why we shouldn't have voter ID, I just despise him to my fucking core when he does that. Because guess what? Yeah, you might be talking to an average IQ population of 90 that are going to believe what you're saying. Your core constituency might be that fucking stupid, or they might have Trump derangement syndrome to such a degree that they're not going to question it. But some of us aren't fucking morons, Chuck, and we know what you're doing. We know what you're doing. It's very transparent to anybody who has more than a few functioning brain cells. And even though I've smoked a lot of weed in my life, I still have enough brain cells to know when you're pissing on my leg and telling me that it's raining. Not buying it at all.
Amen.
And Brian, I'm not sure I'm buying Bill Belichick's statement that he made to the public here. Did you see this? Bill finally addressing everything that we've seen going around for the past few days since the debacle that was the CBS Sunday Morning interview where Jordan Hudson looked like she was coaching Bill on everything. I'm not even sure that what Bill issued are really his words, Ron, saying among other things that, Jordan, whom I share both a personal and professional relationship with, stepped in to reiterate the point that he wanted them to stay on the book. She was not deflecting any specific question or topic, but doing her job to ensure that the interview stays on track. The final 8-minute segment doesn't reflect the productive 35-minute conversation we had. Instead, it presents selectively edited clips and stills from just a few minutes of the interview to suggest a false narrative.
Yeah,
Those
Bill
are the
didn't write.
words
Bill
of
didn't
Bill
write
Belichick.
that. Yeah. No, Bill didn't write that.
Jordan
No chance.
Jordan wrote that.
Yeah.
She didn't even let Bill proof it.
Yeah, no,
either.
There's no
she wrote
chance.
that and just fired it off without even letting Bill see it. Is probably what happened. And then she let Bill have sex. Bill's allowed to have sex.
I was gonna say he got a
month
handy.
if he's
He got a
good.
handy for it. He got a handy for it.
He gets a handy once a month if he's good. They call it a gronk. She says, "Do you want your gronk? Now you be good, Bill, and I might gronk you later."
First of all, I'd like to publicly apologize to Shedeur and the Sanders family for what occurred. Second of all, I want to publicly apologize to Mr. Blaine, Terry Fontenot, Raheem Morris, and the entire Falcons organization. My actions of not protecting confidential data were inexcusable. My son's actions were absolutely inexcusable. And for that, we are both deeply sorry. The NFL has taken action, and I fully respect the punishment. We take full responsibility, my son and myself, and we will not be appealing the fine in any way. Going forward, I promise my son and I will work hard to demonstrate we are better than this. Again, I'm deeply sorry for our actions.
Oh my God! All right, and there is poor Jeff Ulbrich having to apologize for. Let's face it, the incident that probably the worst. What was it? The worst day since 9/11. What would you guys say?
January 6th.
Was it the
January
worst?
6th.
Yeah, it was really the first. It's the worst day for this country since J6. Shedeur Sanders receiving a phone call believing that he was going to be drafted by the New Orleans Saints. And obviously that was not true as we found out later. And now our country tries to put together the broken pieces.
Oh,
and
the humanity.
First step towards trying to do this again is Jeff Ulbrich apologizing, as he made clear publicly on more than one occasion. He and his son are going to try to do better. It's inexcusable.
I'm going to look to them
this
as an
occurred.
example. I'm going to look to the Ulbrichs or whatever their name is as an example
Yeah.
of like how I can be a better person.
Yeah. Is the silver lining here that Jeff Ulbrich and his son Jax, they could be a beacon of light for the rest of us.
I'll tell you what.
They
was
come
worth-
clean from this and end up being the kind of people that we can be proud of rather than the disgust that we all feel for the entire family right now, Ron.
You know what? I'm glad that it was $100,000 fine. It's worth every penny of it because it's going to make my son a better person. It's going to make me a better person. It's going to bring me and my son closer together. It's worth every cent. I wish they would have made it 200,000. I wish they would have made it 200,000.
They fined this motherfucker $100,000 because his son made a prank phone call, and they fined the Falcons $250,000. Look, Adam Schefter said the other day that the reason that you don't hear about shit like this happening ordinarily, and I can't remember the last time we heard a story like this, is because most players have agents, and the contact information that teams have to reach out to the players is the agent's contact information. You contact the fucking agent, the agent then gets the player. So because of the fact that the Sanders family is doing this shit their own way, that's why Shedeur's direct number was available in the first place.
So
otherwise,
you know a bunch
if
of
they
other
had hired
players.
A fucking agent, his son wouldn't have been able to have done this.
I
So I
mean,
think
there's
part of the fault is on the fucking Sanders family for this.
Well-
And by the way, let's not forget, it was a fucking prank phone call. It doesn't mean shit. This is ridiculous. That might not be a lot of money to the Atlanta Falcons. It's probably at least a fair amount of money to Jeff
Hell
Ulbrich.
yeah. Hell
$100,000. It's fucking ridiculous. It was a prank phone call. Say
Ricky,
you're sorry, move on. This idea that
Ricky.
he's got to stand there like he committed a fucking felony is beyond my comprehension. Lighten the fuck up, would you?
So are you aware that the same thing happened to Cooper DeJean last year? And there was actually video of it, right? Of Cooper DeJean getting a prank phone call. It's out there. Easy to
Okay,
find.
I was not aware of that.
Yep.
Wasn't aware
this
of that
year,
at all, Ron.
This year, Penn State, two Penn State players, Abdul Carter and Tyler Warren, they were also pranked. So this is a non-story. They need to settle down.
Why didn't we hear about Abdul Carter?
There were a couple. They need Jordan Hudson. They clearly all needed Jordan Hudson answering the call.
That's true. That's true. They don't have PR people that they're also sleeping with. So
Listen, I think $350,000 in fines over a phone call is a worse miscarriage of justice than the phone call itself.
yeah.
It was a fucking prank call made by... Now, if Jeff Ulbrich had made the call himself, hey, Shedeur, is your refrigerator running? Well, you better go catch it. Go Falcons.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.